Good evening and welcome to this latest Diggers and Dozers special. I'm your host, Mark Anthony, as always. Now, earlier this afternoon, JCB hosted the latest in a succession of virtual press launches to unveil the latest addition to its comprehensive equipment fleet. I've got to be honest, it was quite a lot to take in. So I'm delighted that I'm going to be joined once again by my co-host, who I'd like to describe as the Laurel to my Hardy, and that is Peter Haddock. While I'm getting Peter on the show, let's just set the scene for what we're about to talk about.
There is a scourge upon British roads, but that scourge isn't teenage drivers with hot hatches. It's not cyclists with their lycra and their weird shoes. And it's not even caravan enthusiasts who are so concerned about a lack of amenities when they travel that they drag a house with them. And that scourge is potholes. It's estimated that there are more than 1 million unmaintained potholes on British roads. And those potholes cost British insurers and British motorists upwards of £2.8 billion each year. If only somebody had a solution.
Hello, Mark.
Good evening, Peter. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Mark. It's very nice to be joining you for our first live of 2021.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, indeed. You know, we certainly went live last year and we've got huge plans for this year. So this is the first one to kick it all off, Mark. So fantastic.
Now, I was going to say, as somebody that's just got themselves a nice new car and a nice new driveway to go with it, you should be as aware and as conscious of potholes as just about anyone right about now.
Yes, Mark, I certainly am. And but first of all, you know, there's a big theme on tonight, and that's called cut, crop, clean. So earlier today, I had a haircut. So my wife cut my hair, she cropped it, and we did the cleaning bit. So I've done my bit for the actual theme of this whole show, which people will find out later. But now I've got to actually do my bit for the business that's done the hard work. So I'll now be putting my hat on, Mark. So as we know, it's JCB today, and we're going to reveal what's going on later. But I've got the experience, like you said, of a driveway myself. 15 years I've waited to save up to get a new driveway. And before I went and got a new driveway, I did a little check, and I saw 17 different shades of asphalt that I'd hammered in myself to protect my driveway from the potholes and my cars from my driveway. And to be honest with you, potholes are a nightmare for any drivers. And much like JCB with its, and we'll soon see this, is cut, crop, clean, 3 words. I've got some 3 words of my own, Mark. Am I all right to talk about them in relation to potholes?
So long as they're clean.
Okay, good one. But I've got avoid, wince, and cry. So avoid for me really means that classic when you're on the road and you swerve around to basically avoid the pothole. Unfortunately, in that way of swerving, you're basically putting yourself in some serious danger, because if oncoming traffic sees you swerving towards them, they could be swerving away. Car accidents, nightmare. Also, the people behind you don't know what you're swerving for, so naturally they swerve and they come out a bit further to avoid what they think is perhaps a human being or an animal in the road. So avoid is actually probably, you've mentioned the big numbers earlier in the start of this, avoid is going to cause even more cost. Not just the cost of potholes, the cost of accidents and potentially horrendous circumstances from that. And then my next word is wince, Mark. Ooh, it's that wince when you go over the pothole because you couldn't avoid it. And you're like, oh, no, you know, the passengers in the car are going, oh, everyone's going, oh. And you think, oh, I hope that has not done the damage I think it could have done. And then also, then obviously my big thing is the cry. And the cry is when the wince has done its horrible thing, I'm afraid. And when you go to your mechanic and you say, how much is that going to cost me to actually replace the suspension, or worse still, the crack in the main part of the car, that experience has cost me. And Mark, I've got another set of 3 as well for you, I'm afraid, because I really do not like potholes. And the next set is navigate, celebrate, and deflate. So navigate is when you know where the pothole is, and we've got one at the top of a bridge in Stafford, not very far from where I live, and you know where it is, so you navigate around it. You're a bit safer, you're not swerving. And then you celebrate when you see that they have fixed the pothole, and it's hooray, they've fixed the pothole. And then unfortunately for that particular pothole, you get very deflated 2 weeks later when actually you realize it's just back again and it just hasn't done the job. So right now, that is my set of 3s that I think, you know, everybody can really relate to, and why potholes are just such a bane on everybody's finances, and particularly difficult at this time of year as well.
No, absolutely right. Now, we've got a number of people have popped into the chat there. Good evening, Adam Cross, Conrad Caldwell, Kenneth Hatcher, Justin Corrigan, and Martin. Good to see you all, guys. What I will say is we've got a couple of guests joining us, both from JCB and from elsewhere as well. So if you have got any questions, technical questions on what we're about to show you, please do post them in the comments, and we'll hopefully get somebody to answer them sensibly. Now, before we fall into a conversational pothole of our own, let's take a very sneak preview of what it is we're going to be looking at while we're getting our guests onto the show. Get ready, because here we go. Well, there's the sneak preview. I've got to admit, I as much as I enjoy these JCB virtual press events, it does pain me a little, because I do enjoy my trips up to the company's world headquarters and meeting the team up there. But I have to say, Peter, you and I have sat through a lot of these now. JCB have pretty much mastered the virtual machine event now, haven't they?
I think, yes, I think you're right. But I think what the JCB have done differently is they've brought their people to the forefront. And I mentioned this before at a previous press launch, but I think, you know, it's really important at the moment that we're hearing from people, and we're not just being given a corporate message thrown at us as well. And what I really liked, Mark, I know it's a really little thing, but what I really, really liked today is we got the press pack, right? And traditionally press packs have, you know, a press release in it and some images, but I was like, download the press pack, and wallop, there are some videos in the press pack, which are real world videos, have real people in them that are actually using the product and have embraced the actual collaboration that's gone into the product. And I'm like, yes, well, yes, that's what we want. We want to see these. We want to have them as journalists and influencers, and we want to be able to share them. And what's great about that is we're going to be able to share some of them today, you know. And again, the ability for us to ask questions. And this is what today's show is all about as well, for the people that come on and listen to us. We're not doing this for our own sake. We're doing this for the ability for other people to ask questions live, and for us to have the ability to go back to JCB and say, come on, guys, these are the questions. These are the things that people want to know. And, you know, again, I was really delighted to have one of my questions answered, and we'll come back to what the answer to that question was in the actual interview section we're going to go on to. But yeah, really good. You know, it's nothing better than seeing it in the iron, like we know. And I like technology as well, so I like to see how other things work behind the scenes. But yeah, really enjoyed that again today. And it's not nowadays this death by PowerPoint that you had. It's getting a lot more sophisticated. So thank goodness for that.
Absolutely. Now, I am delighted to say that we've got not one, not two, but three guests lined up tonight. The first is the editor of World Highways magazine, Mike Wolf. I've known Mike for a number of years. I've already tried to give a bit of a UK perspective on the issue of potholes, but as someone that spends his every waking hour writing about roads, I think Mike will probably give us a bit more of a global perspective. Next up is Paul Murray, JCB's Global Product Director for backhoe loaders. He's also responsible for Hydrodig and site dumpers as well. And also joining us is JCB's Ben Rawding to give us the inside track on JCB's solution to the perennial pothole problem. Now, my screen is frozen at the moment, so I hope you can all still hear me. But while I'm dragging them all into the stream, kicking and screaming, let's have a proper look at what JCB have actually unveiled. And it does look like I've frozen completely. Bear with me 1 second, gentlemen, and I'll try and get this restarted.
Well, Mark, while you're getting that restarted, I think one of the interesting things about what JCB has done here is it's actually created a product based around a platform that they already have, but they've actually collaborated with the industry and they've looked at the problem. And I think what we need more is this collaboration in the industry, because for me, I think what we really need is, oh, I'm afraid.
No, you carry on, Peter.
Carry on. What we really need to see is people actually talking to people a lot more often and actually bringing them into the collaboration of having a. So it's back to me, guys, and having a scenario whereby actual manufacturers work with end users. And, you know, we see a situation with potholes where, you know, I've seen potholes being dealt with and, you know, there's people on their knees in sorting things out, cutting things out. You know, there's jackhammers being used. And all of these sort of things take time. You obviously got other people that have got to be in the vicinity as well, because they're looking after the people that are working, traffic flow management, and you've got to then take all of the kit that you've got to deliver all of those elements to the next site. So each process takes a lot of time. And I think the big problem with potholes is obviously what we're talking about is a limited resources about how you can repair potholes and do that in a timely fashion, but also how you can do it more in a productive fashion. And it's never going to be a manual process that's going to beat a mechanized process. But until now, really, there's never been a clear focus by a manufacturer like JCB on how to take something like the pothole situation and how to then take that, mechanize that process, whilst also recognizing the other elements that have to build into that and the other products that support that. And as we saw in the video there, we had the JCB other products that were used in the actual finishing of that works. Back in the room, Mark.
I am, yeah. I don't know what happened there. You know, I'm just the host, and this is why I have you on standby, because I know you can talk quite happily for 5 minutes without even breaking for breath. So, yeah.
Right, back to you then, Mark.
Okay, I tell you what, while we're getting our guests on, let's roll the proper video and we can really see exactly what it is we're all talking about. Good evening, gentlemen. I'm going to start with you, Mike, as the editor of World Highways. Potholes. I've already given the British perspective, but that's not just a British problem.
No, it's this is an issue we see all over the world, particularly in developed countries. You've got existing infrastructure and it's been not very well maintained. I think the US has a real issue with roads and highways that are in just terrible state. And it's a real problem. It costs drivers a lot of money to repair vehicles. Local councils get hit with bills from insurance companies to pay for that. It's a pain, and it's dangerous as well. If you're driving along the road and have to avoid a serious pothole, you may have to swerve. There's a risk with that. If you're a motorcyclist or like me, if you hit a pothole at speed, you're in trouble. Same goes for cyclists. It's dangerous. So coming up with a solution for this is really good. I think the JCB HydroDig is a really nice piece of machinery. It's well proven. Using that as a base is a great idea. It's an extremely versatile machine. One of the things that wasn't mentioned in the JCB press conference, actually, in their presentation, is that utilization for that machine is great. If you're not using it as a pothole patcher for that particular day, well, you've got a JCB HydroDig that you can stick all the other attachments on, whether it's a hydraulic brake or a bucket, and use it for all the other tasks you would use it for as well. It's a nice proven package, which is good. The Simex planer attachment is a nice one. JCB's worked with Simex for a while. Simex is a good company with a well-respected product range. It's a good option there as well. If there's one thing I think JCB could have added to the package, would have been to say, well, we've got the 600 millimeter planer attachment, we've got the 600 millimeter cutter attachment. Let's put in a 600 millimeter compaction attachment as well. JCB has the compaction plates. I would have thought it might be an idea just to offer that to the customer as well. But another thing that I think might be interesting, if JCB was to say to its dealers, look around in your local market, see what hotbox options there are, and then offer your customers a good quality hotbox that meets local standards, and say, we can do this whole thing in one. But otherwise, it's a nice versatile machinery, piece of machinery. It's a real quality machinery, a piece of machinery that's already well proven. I think it's a nice job. There you go.
It's interesting the word versatility there. Like, looking at you now, given all that you can do with a machine as versatile as a HydroDig, why have you chosen to focus on potholes at this point?
Thanks very much, and good evening to everybody. By the way, it's it's fantastic to join this group. A great question. Well, certainly potholes, as you well described, on the way in, are part of everybody's lives, and that's unfortunately so. We all know those potholes that we want to avoid, and right from our chairman, throughout the business, we've been obsessed about this through these projects. We've been in the industry, the pothole industry, for quite some time with many different products and machines. What we sought to do in this case was really understand how, the costs, the people, and how we really fix that pothole problem. Surfacing it is quite well mechanized. How do we go and fix the pothole problem? And when we got close to that, we quickly understood that we needed one machine that could turn up with all of the attachments on there and do that job. And that's really missing in the market today. Although there's a lot of mechanization on servicing, larger patching, when you look at the people who are there day in, day out doing the potholing job, they're very much mechanized. They are working with those floor saws and those hand breakers, to do the job. So that was the first learning for us. We really did start off, and myself, was right out there, particularly with Stoke on our doorstep here, and working with the team there, the highways team, every day, and understanding all the issues they've got and how do we solve them. And we had a look at a number of different ways, but the hydraulic platform and all the machine, all the attachments mounted on there seemed to be the right way to start.
Okay. Paul, sorry, Paul. Ben, let's bring you into the stream now. I did have a question for you. I'm gone blank. I'm having a bit of a night. We've obviously seen the machine on video, but can you take us through some of the key features and benefits of the new Pothole Pro machine?
Yeah, no problem at all. So, like I say, good evening, everybody. Great to be here today, speaking about a machine that we're very, very excited about here in JCB. I think, touching back on Paul's point, councils can get a lot of stick when it comes to both pothole repair and road repair generally. And what we really want to do at JCB is give them the tools to be more efficient and more productive with their repairs, but also really looking for a quality repair. And I think that permanent element of the repair is absolutely vital. When we talk about the machine element and the cut, crop, clean methodology, the whole process was driven to really push this permanent repair so that councils don't have to revisit these potholes that have reoffended after a few months, because it's not good for them, it's not good for their productivity, it's not good for council resource, and it's not good for us as motorists on the road experiencing the same pothole that was there a few months ago that is then, in winter months like we are going into now, reoffended. So when I talk about those elements, it's all about creating a uniform whole profile. And that's in particular with the cropping element of the cut, crop, clean that we've talked about there. So being able to utilize a hydraulic cropping tool that's operated directly from the cab, giving the operator the control ability to operate around ironworks or different street furniture, we believe is absolutely essential, because if you don't create that uniform hole profile, then the pothole repair just won't last. And that's where Paul touched upon working directly with consumers on real highways. And we always thought that's absolutely vital with this machine. There's no point testing just on our sites. We need to go out there on the front line, understand the process, understand the issues, and then come up with a machine that utilizes a cut, crop, clean methodology and creates that, like I say, permanent repair that will last.
We've had some questions coming in here, gentlemen, and I know from having sat through the press conference today, this was one that came up. This is Adam Cross, I think. Is there a chance of adapting the Pothole Master to tarmac as well, so that potholes can be repaired by one person? I can't actually remember what the answer to that question was when it was raised earlier today.
So with the Pothole, Pothole Pro is been developed for potholes, but it can work with large patches. So what we found when we went out onto the sites was that there is a thing called a pothole. It's generally 1 meter squared or less, but a lot of those defects had crept and crazed and could be 6 meters long, could be larger than that, and often had a lot of ironworks. So when we developed the Pothole Pro, we developed it in the mind to be able to do all of those defects from a small, so somebody could be doing a string of potholes, or they could be doing a large patch in the same amount of time, on all different types of tarmac. So the very hot rolled asphalt, as well as the lighter stuff. In Stoke, they had a lot of challenges with tarmac over cobbles. We tested in those environments. We took all those met all those challenges with them. Ironworks was a particular issue that they face on every road, working around those with a cropping tool. All these challenges that are related to the tarmac, we were able to deal with. And as we go into demonstrations now with councils and contractors around the country, then we'll do more of that. We'll prove more of those attributes out.
If I might just touch on that slightly, just to answer the question there, did we look at the tarmac element? And I think what we did originally is we looked at what are the bottlenecks in that process. We found one of the key bottlenecks is actually the preparation of that hole, and working on a solution that creates that uniform hole profile for then a support gang to follow up and reinstate was a very efficient process. So working with councils whereby we utilise the Pothole Pro to do that initial element, create that uniform hole profile, and then, like I say, a support gang. They were far more enthused because I don't know if you gents have ever seen a pothole repaired, but the satisfying bit is the end bit, isn't it? It's not necessarily the milling out; it's sealing it, working from a beautiful square hole, and then knowing that it will last for a long time. So that's really where we looked. But to say that there could be something future down the line with a tarmac element, who's to say? Who's to say?
Yeah, I don't want to tread on anyone's toes, and I know everyone's will get very tired of listening to me, but it does strike me very quickly that now is probably the best possible time to be addressing the issue of pothole repairs. We've obviously got a national lockdown, so the roads are unusually quiet, and the construction industry once again has been declared key workers. So what is actually standing in the way of a national pothole purge? And if anybody registers the term pothole purge, you heard it here first.
Yeah, great. Well, Mark, I think that's a great suggestion, because I think it's we're a British company. We're proud to be British. We're an engineering company. We want to always do better, and I think as a nation we deserve better roads. And Ben and I, and we all know, it's not for those councils and the highways teams that are fully engaged. We are sure that with Pothole Pro being able to close out all different types of defect and a close out pothole with just 8 minutes, and the lower costs that we can see coming through, we can do that. We can do that, and we should do it. I think it's really important. So part of that, creating this awareness that we're doing today with the launch, and we're working with councils, we're working with the major contractors, is to create that awareness that we have to do these things in a better way. And I think the government understand that as well, that we need to apply mechanisation, innovation to the problem if we're going to do more with less. Work within the budgets we've got, but be able to get better output, better safety for the people in those environments, and better roads for everybody.
I think, Paul, if I can jump in here, Mark, I think one thing that you just mentioned there, getting things done quicker, we don't really understand the impact, and there's been a lot of studies in the UK, we don't understand the impact of time. So if we are holding up traffic for a period of time, obviously those people and those trucks can't get to their destination, they're burning fuel, they're burning carbon, they're impacting our environment. And economically, there's a cost to all of that as well. So where Ben said earlier about getting that work done as fast as possible to prep the area before the gangs come in, that's actually not just about the cost of the pothole repair, it's the economic cost that goes with repairing that faster and moving on to the next thing as well. Have you done any studies or got any feedback from Stoke-on-Trent in regards to that area?
Absolutely. I mean, that was the core of the subject. So when you look at a pothole economics, so you've got some fixed costs in there, pretty much tar. You can waste a lot of money if you do a temporary repair. You put in tar in, you're not repairing it properly, and you have to put it back in again. When you speed up the process by using the Pothole Pro, the fixed cost, the tar remains the same, but everything else related to time reduces. So the cost of traffic management, the cost of labour over time, the cost of capital over time, the cost of fuel over time, all comes down, based on the speed. So what we were able to do, and we focus a lot on speed, was by doing preparing a pothole 4 times quicker. Actually, we halved the cost. The fixed elements stay the same, but the rest of the cost just tumbled down. And the numbers that we talked about on our press launch today, which we've gone through with Stoke City Council, Stoke-on-Trent City Council, was taking that cost from an average of £60 for a permanent repair down to £30. And we're doing open book work now with many councils and showing how we can do that. I think there's another key point in there somewhere, which is difficult. You mentioned it, Peter, earlier about the temporary repair. I think and great. You've just had your pothole that caused you a problem fixed, and then 2 months later it started to open up, and there it is again. And we all know that if we put hot tar in on top of a base that's not structured, it's not a solid base, then that just comes back out. And too many councils, because of the safety issues that they've got and the speed of response that they have to make to dangerous potholes, they're forced into doing these temporary repairs, which consumes a lot of the budget. By us being able to fix potholes much quicker allows councils actually to close out more potholes in a permanent way, so they're doing the job once and permanently, rather than, and I don't know the numbers, but maybe 30 or 40% of their budgets today are being spent on the temporary repairs over the permanent repairs. So you get a sense that if we start closing potholes out in a much better way permanently first time, then over the long term, the whole cost, the road networks then start to catch up and get better.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. And I think the feedback that I saw from your customer was really impressive. And I think Mark, maybe it's a time to let Stoke-on-Trent do the talking for us, and then we can come back to that.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, from my point of view, it's a very interesting thing that JCB hasn't just put out a video. Here's our fancy new machine. Look how sexy it is. They've actually been to a customer and got them to say a few words as well. So let's have a look at that, and we'll come back to the questions in a second.
Ensuring the roads across Stoke-on-Trent are in brilliant condition does cost money every year, and we're always looking at more efficient and effective ways of doing that moving forward to ensure that we can keep the road network in the condition that our residents and local businesses expect it to be in.
So currently we go out in a two-man gang in a 7.5 tonner. We'll go out with a still saw and cut the edges, and then large areas we'll use a breaker to break up the surface, and then obviously put that into a wheelbarrow and then lift that into our 7.5 tonner as the spoil. By the time our lads are cut, prepped the area and then tarmacked it and overbanded, it works out about an hour, depending on just the bog standard pothole size. Where we are reckoning with this machine, it's around about 8 minutes to get it out, and obviously a re-tarmac area, so huge benefits for ourselves. Most of the potholes by the time we get to it are around 600-700 mil, so say one cut and one sweep, it allows us to speed up our processes. Our lads can stay in the cab and the machine will do all the work for them, be working in a live carriageway. It reduces all your health and safety risks, all your halves, say all the backbreaking stuff, and say our lads will then just come and tarmac, so they're on site for less, and obviously speeds them up as well, and you've got no health and safety risks. Cropping tool, especially around manholes or up to curbs or tidying up pothole edges, would have been traditionally done with a breaker. And if anybody's used a breaker for 5 minutes, it's not a pleasant task. So you say all the machine is doing all the work for you, all the halves, all the white finger, that's machines doing it all, and obviously makes a nice, neat, tidy pothole for our lads to just top. Us be able to attach, say, ditching blades, loading shovels, digging buckets. So yeah, the possibilities are endless for us. With the bucket, when you open it up and then use it more like a dig end, and then remove all the spoil and then put it on the back of a wagon, and then sweep it, does sweep the area up nice and tidy and gives that clean finish where lads would have had to use a brush and water. It speeded us up no end, because that's another part of the back braking, putting the tarmac on the back of the truck. We've got potholes and then larger patches. So with this machine, it would have took us 2-3 days to have say 70 square metres out. We're getting that out before breakfast, and then our lads are topping it just after breakfast. So it's taken us half a day instead of that being 2 to 3 days. And I say we can go on to emergency large patches, smaller patches. Possibilities are endless for send this machine and just go do a one pass approach.
We think this is a fantastic tool that will help to drastically improve the condition of the roads in Stoke-on-Trent by getting those irritating potholes and patchworks done even faster to keep our city moving at such a crucial time for residents and businesses. We wouldn't think twice about partnering with JCB, an innovative, world-beating company right from the heart of the UK. We're proud to be associated with JCB.
It's an impressive film, isn't it? We've had a couple of comments coming in here, which I will throw up on the screen. Let's have a look. What have we got there? That's from Peter Ferguson. Playing a shovel and brush on the one head. Great, absolutely. I totally agree with that. What else have we got? We've got a question here, which I'm hoping one of you JCB guys will be able to answer. How long does a tungsten carbide tip last? Number of hours worked?
That's a good question. I think that would very much depend on the material you're cutting. obviously the planer is designed. It's a Cymex planer. It's the top of the top for the planer. I think I don't have exactly the work like them, but they're very, very durable assets. Yeah, you know, I don't have that would depend on the material being cut, but yeah, it's anybody who's familiar with Cymex planer, and Cymex are the leaders in the industry there, will be familiar with their top spec carbide tips on there, and they're very, very durable.
Okay, now I know this was a question that was asked during the press conference, but as most of our viewers weren't actually at the press conference, I'll ask it again. Who are the customers for this? Is it plant hirers? Is it the national, the McNicholases of this world? Is it owner operators? Who are you targeting with this?
The road network in the UK is ultimately comes down to local government and government, and those contracts there for repair and maintenance are either done in house or they're tendered out, and they can be done in different ways and different contracts within the areas. So it's all of those that we just spoke about, that you just mentioned there, really. We've worked very, very closely to understand the detail of what's required. So we work very closely, as you saw in the video there, with Stoke, and Stoke's on our doorstep, and they have all the challenges that the councils face, and all the different road conditions, good and bad, that everyone faces. But we're also working with the big contractors, Tarmac, Alpha BT, Kia, as well as our customers such as Clee Hill and contractors that are into it. So it's all of those. It's quite a complex job of managing all the different types of roads and networks within the UK, and they all have their own subtleties. We have taken all the feedback from those different environments in. So we've almost developed one machine that will flex between all of those different applications, which is something new as well. I think the methods out there at the moment are very much pigeonholed to either large scale work or medium size. There's not too much on the smaller end, but this machine clearly can flex between all of those.
We've had a comment in here from one of our regulars, Tristan Mays, which I'm sure will make your evening, guys. Don't think you can really say much about that, apart from it's absolutely awesome. Well done, JCB. I'd certainly echo that. I mean, interestingly, going back to who this is actually designed for, I visited Bauma, it must be 3 or 4 Baumas ago, and I was talking to a company that made a towable compact crusher over in Germany, and the company was selling those primarily to one-man band operators who would literally travel from site to site to site, crushing here, crushing there, and that sort of thing. It feels like a perfect model for an owner-operator, particularly given the fact that JCB Finance does those for his tailored owner-operator finance packages.
Yeah, yes, and with JCB Finance as a partner, we're able to structure those lease deals as well. So the Pothole Pro is available for just £600 a week, and can really in that time turn out a lot. So you're right. I think within councils, those gangs are almost like small businesses as well, and then the councils will put work out to small business. And the rural areas of the country, it works slightly different to what it does in the cities. So yes, this is a machine that really owner operators can set up and have partnerships with their local councils and get on it and do that work. You got all the attachments on one machine. Clearly, if you're going to be working on roads, it's always going to be in partnership with the local council. It involves permits, works orders, closures, etc. It's all documented. So, but yes, this is a machine that can be used from the largest contractors to the one-man band, and you've got all the attachments on one machine. It drives to site at 40 kph, 25 mile an hour. Everything on there. It deploys. It works. It moves on. And that's part of the thought that we put into the process.
Now, I mean, I'm not suggesting for one moment that JCB has suddenly waved a magic wand and has cured potholes by any means, but it does strike me, it feels like the industry is leaving quite a lot of money on the table with potholes. I mean, I saw one of the figures there. I can't remember whether it was on the video or in the press conference, but you're talking about possibly a cost of maybe £30 for a pothole repair, and there's 1 million+ of these to be done. even my very simplistic maths, there's 300 million quid that's going begging. And we've now got a machine that, you know, could potentially access that for, as you say, you know, smaller contractors, owner operators, plant hirers, and so on.
A big part of the constraint, you know, for councils is how to use the budget, you know, and so getting more done with less, you know, making the people in the highways teams more productive because we're mechanising the process is absolutely a key to fixing this national problem that we've got. And there's different numbers around of how many potholes. I don't think anyone really knows. I think it's over 5 million. You know, that at the start of the year, you know, Richie Sumak declared there was more budget available to help this national issue, and he mentioned 5 million potholes in there. I saw one quote there that was a new pothole declared every 43 seconds. What we have to be doing is closing out those potholes quicker than they're reported to get ahead. And clearly, at the moment in the UK, that hasn't been happening for a few years because our roads seem to be getting worse. And we all know that come March time, the potholes that are there today are all going to have crept and become larger and bigger and deeper, and the problem's going to get bigger. So yeah, we absolutely need to get on top of it. And I think, you know, my view as a British engineer is working for JCB. I want to help fix that issue. I don't like driving through potholes either.
I can't help thinking there's an OBE or an MBE waiting for somebody that actually fixes the pothole problem permanently. Go on, Mike. You say
just as an aside, there's a point that hasn't been sufficiently made, I think, is also safety. When you've got when you're working with a jackhammer, it's not a very pleasant job. There is the issue of vibration and through the hammer, and the health and safety issue of that. That is a risk. Getting the site personnel away from using the jackhammer and being able to sit inside a machine, inside a cab to do that cutting job is a big safety issue. There's also the other, even more important point of working in live traffic. If you've got your personnel in the cab of a machine, they're a lot safer than if they're working on the ground with a jackhammer. There are a lot of collisions. The data from the Department for Transport for road personnel that are injured or killed by motor vehicles in live traffic are pretty frightening. Putting the worker inside the cab of a machine makes them safe. They've got the seat belt on, even if that machine is hit by a vehicle. The risk of serious injury to that road worker is significantly less. That's a really big issue, and I think it has to be really highlighted. That getting the site personnel inside the cab of a machine makes them safe. They can also work in all weathers. You know, working at this time of year outside with a jackhammer. You know, it was -2 the other day. That's not a job you want to do. If you're inside the cab of a machine, it's where you want to be.
And if a Scot is saying that he doesn't want to be working in -2, you know he means it's really cold, doesn't he?
But Mike, and that's really, you know, some great points there. And I think, as Ben said earlier, you know, sometimes we're quite critical towards our council and highways workers, and what we've seen from working with the teams in the past 12 months is, you know, that these are the same guys that are getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go and grit our roads. You know, they're sitting in the carriageway, breaking out these with hand, you know, in all conditions, all weathers. They're working on floods. They're working on this. You know, they are the go-to people who keep our roads safe. And having a machine, you know, which helps them to become safer by removing them from haves and dust, because you find a lot of the people on these gangs have been working there for a long time, have got white finger, have got hand-eye vibration because of the prolonged, you know, exposure to hand tools. As you say, getting out of the carriageway, spending less time in the carriageway, so that you've got a machine coming in doing the things that take the long time. You know, it's the breaking out, it's the working around ironworks that take a long time. So having that mechanising quicker and having the people away from that is key. You know, wet and cold, you know, working in the wet and cold is difficult. I saw a good couple of comments coming through, and Adam Cross raised one on training. Training and upskilling those gangs is a big part of what we want to do. So every Pothole Pro will go out with a training package for 2 people within that gang. So 2 people in the gang can get trained. Normally there's somebody in the gang who's got some machinery experience, and we'd take them to one side with a training partner and give them a full training program. The machine, it looks quite complex, but when you break it down into its 3 processes, the cut, the crop, the clean, when you go nice and steady at those, you know, it's a fairly simple, logical way to use the machine. But yeah, every machine would have training with it, two people trained.
And if I might just touch on the safety element there, because I don't think we can talk about that enough. Safety is absolutely vital, not only for the council workforce, but also the general public as well. And obviously we talk about there removing hand-eye vibration syndrome with the machine, completely eliminating it. But there's also the element of sweeping. So being able to utilize this machine, effectively doing the jobs of 3 different machines that will be there repairing those potholes, I think is absolutely vital. I mean, we forget how dangerous having sweepers on site can be. I mean, talking to the councils, the contractors, they all recognise what a risk it is. So that's why with this machine, safety has always been a priority. Even the smallest things like making sure with this machine, you can see all 4 wheels. We've got a reversing camera. Those sort of safety benefits, I think, just cannot be overstated.
Yeah, it's very been spending a lot of time on those sites. You know, a potholing site is really a public, you know, construction site. You know, you're doing a job, and the public can walk onto that site at any time, or could do. So the operator of the machine has to have that 360 visibility to be able to see what's going on, who's going to walk onto that site, which is a very unique environment that you know is very different to many construction sites. And certainly when somebody's heads down with a floor saw or a breaker and the noise is going on there, they lose that peripheral vision of what's going on, and the dust is coming up. So, you know, this potential new environment that they can work in from the Pothole Pro will just help safety all around. Really will.
I think one of the big things for me, guys, is this is reminding me a little bit of how tilt rotators came into the industry and changed the way in which you could use an excavator product full stop. So yes, you had the tilt rotator and the bucket, but I went onto a site maybe 18 months ago now, and the operator had all the buckets. He had the sweeper attachments. He had all the other attachments that go with those sort of grabbing and the forks and everything. So it became a multi-purpose, multifaceted machine, and therefore that individual could do more. And what we're seeing with the HydroDig concept is, I call it the sort of Swiss Army knife of the pothole industry, for example. So we're seeing that same context go. Coming back to your safety elements, guys, you know, obviously for me, what I'd like to understand is how you're working with other suppliers to actually have active systems to warn the driver of people coming into their area. So, you know, we know that happens with RF things on hard hats for the gang members, and you see a lot of that in big highways at England Project, HS2 and stuff.
Yes,
but we've got active systems now that we can have, and I mean around machines, and that can add that different layer of safety as well, can't it?
Yes, you're right, Peter. I mean, there's that technology is evolving, you know, very rapidly. It's a really great time for engineering and really taking machines to that next level. You know, HydroDig is the donor, is the tool carrier, if you like, is one of those next generation machines. It was crafted as that tool carrier that can deploy into the modern urban site and do these things, and the systems on it have been built to be able to incorporate those systems on top. So, you know, the HydroDig going into these applications, you can set your swing limits and you can set your height limits on it. So it's got that in can that be automated in the future? Absolutely, you can put more automation in there. And what we will do and are doing is working very closely with those big, tier one lead contractors, to understand exactly how we make the site environment productive but safer as well at the same time. And it's you've got to it's quite a good balance of using technology in the right way, not if you too much restrict the operator, if you put too many difficult interlocks in place, and you're all then people will naturally try and bypass that because it's inhibiting what they do. We have to do things in a smart way, so you can be very safe, but you've got all those layers of productivity and use at the same time, and that's what another element that we focus on with this machine. So hydro-dig, natural visibility, natural lines of sight, but then you've got the control systems in place to keep your system. Other technologies such as AI or cameras are all great, but really what you want is the fundamentals of the machine to be right, the fundamentals of the operation to be right, and then you add to that in the layers of safety.
And I think really on top of that, Paul, and I know I'm always 1 or 2 or 10 steps ahead of people. I think what really excites me around this is all the learning that you're having with regards to it, but then how you can add more things, like Mike said before, how you can add more practical things. But I'm thinking, ahead that we could have semi-autonomous with 3D machine control hydro digs that are actually able to do things. We can also have the sort of scanning LiDAR kind of ground scans of the actual potholes, so we can actually look at trends and keep that data and go, hey, Stoke-on-Trent, we can see that for some of these roads here, which you did maybe 20 years ago or 10 years ago, the layering on that is causing a problem. So when it comes to actually properly scraping the surface of that and using big planers and big asphalt road surfacing, that maybe the underlayers need to be addressed so that actually you're keeping the cost down. So there's more stuff you can get into, isn't there?
There is, and I think as Mark said earlier, there seems to be a lot of opportunity to work better with funding and better use that. And first thing is to get the pothole fixing mechanized, to get the work gang safe, to give them the right tools to go and do the job they want to do, have the appropriate safety systems on. But absolutely, once you've got those methods in place, then you can build on that. I mean, in the new world of data, then if you start understanding where your holes are, recording depths and stuff, then you can start to be much more efficient with the way that we look after our problems. We're just not quite right there yet. We've got this national problem, this national sort of crisis where we've got more potholes than we can do with every road you don't run, and we've got to start by getting the right technology in place to make that system more efficient. And I just come back to the point. I mean, in road resurfacing, where a lot of our equipment is used today, it's very mechanized. In the potholing area, it just isn't at the moment. And there's temporary repairs. There's we've got to get over those levels first. And absolutely, these platforms can be used to take it to the next level as far as how we look after our roads. And you can just imagine that new place, can't you, where we don't see potholes anymore. It's all done preventively, but I think we've got a journey, and we're all part of it to get there. We're all going to help that journey.
Yeah, no, that's good to know that this. I mean, this is really is the start of that journey, Paul. It's good to know you're already thinking about that. That's really good. Over to someone else.
I was going to say, we've had some very good comments in here. There's one on the screen at the moment. Can the current hydro dig be adapted to suit if you have one in the fleet? My guess is the answer is yes, but JCB gentlemen?
We worked a lot, so if you're going to obviously plane, from the front, there's a lot of, new structures there. There's hydraulics flows, there's different pumps, there's different transmission controls to be able to do that. There's electronics and software, and there's quite a lot of development and engineering gone on to create Pothole Pro. So it shares a lot of the DNA that's already on the Hydrodig, but it's a different machine as well because of the great things it does. The power that it's gone out through the planer, which is mounted actually on a skid steer hitch, so you can put other attachments on there if you wanted to. So you can take a Pothole Pro and take the elements off it and go and do another job, a normal job. And you mentioned braking, it could be snow clearing, it could be some forestry work that because it's got a skid steer hitch, the opportunities are almost endless. But because of the oil flows and drive circuits and software, you can't take a standard Hydrodig and put all that equipment onto it. It's a different thing.
And does that answer the question from Dan Mathewson there? Can you use the pothole version of the Hydrodig as an excavator in the off season?
Absolutely. So particularly in the highway sector, and Stoker said it themselves. For a few weeks each year, they need to load their gritter wagons. So that they want to be able to do that. And Hydrodig is a great tool because they can go in and level things off. They might have some flooding. They might have some branches blocking a bridge or a waterway. And with the Hydrodig, you can quickly go in, grab that, and get it out. They can't do that today. They don't have the tools to go and fix these things very quickly. If there's some drainage that needs clearing out or something, then of course you can put the appropriate bucket on and go and do that. So all of the great things that you want to do with a superb tool carrier like the Hydrodig, you've still got all those as well.
We had another question here regarding when it clicks. Regarding brochures, will there be a brochure available? My guess is there's probably already something on the JCB website, although I must admit I've not looked yet.
So it's a great question. This product is very visual, so certainly we've been focused on video assets because that's a great way of communicating. I love seeing stuff like that. There's an e-brochure to go out and all the sport materials. We're doing a lot of work with different councils and contractors, and we're going to be sharing a lot of that information and having the conversation because we want to have the conversation with the network as well and get your great ideas back. So yes, all that's going to be available.
One of the things that Peter and I have learned doing these shows is if JCB launched 14 new excavators, somebody out there would want a 15th. So not content with having launched this, we've had a question, and I guess it's a valid question given the fact that JCB is very much at the cutting edge of electric machines. Are we looking at a future with an electric Hydrodig?
Zero emissions is a part of our future, absolutely. I think the first stage in this process is to get, the cut crop clean onto one platform, which firstly makes it a lot more efficient than what anything else that's happening right now. It means that we can control the energy usage onto one platform. But yes, we need to have a full line zero emissions future, and that will cover all JCB machines. And no doubt Hydrodig is one of those future urban, environment machines. So I'm not saying that we are, but it would be silly if we weren't thinking about that. Should I say that?
Just had a comment in here from Justin Carrigan. It looks a brilliant product. Well done to all at JCB. Yeah, I'll certainly echo that. Now, there was another comment there that's just oh, yes, there we go. Now, given the fact that Peter lives in Stafford, so he's just up the road from you, the comment was, no potholes around the JCB factory now. I reckon we give JCB about, 3 months, and then Peter, you take a drive by and see exactly how well things are progressing. How about that?
Well, Mark, I certainly do that, but I'd like to take a drive by and a drive in when we're able to do that, Mark. Quite frankly, I think that's something we've got to see it to believe it, really. But also, I think one of the things that we can see happening here is an integration digitally, I think, because what we've got is a scenario where people are now encouraged. I think there's an app, there's the National Pothole Day that's coming up, but there's also, people have got the smartphones and devices that can actually take pictures and register potholes. And in the future, as we move to really advanced pieces of equipment in smartphones as well, you'll be able to get the dimensions and things like that from potholes. So I think we've got a really interesting future where we can take the understanding of what that knowledge that is being gained, and then the data capture, and then we can actually go and utilize that across different areas. And if we can map and use civilians like myself to map the pothole structures, we can get to those big numbers that JCB mentioned, that we could do 40 in a day. Certainly on that road you went to, I think all you have to do is move a centimetre forward, Mark, and you're doing 40 a day. But the whole thing to me is it's about knowledge and understanding of where are these problems. And if we can all come together as individuals, then we can help the councils, and we can help the road owners, Highways England or whatever, to actually address these things faster. And I think that's really important, the speed.
I think Peter, that's really important. As we the process today is very slow. The road closure process is quite slow. The way jobs are laid out. We're going to work in this area for 2 or 3 days. You heard it from James Harper. Normally we spend 3 days in this area, and it's all very structured and similar. As we able to have a machine that is mobile, it can drive itself. It carries everything with it. It's supported by the regular vehicles that are in the fleet anyway, whether that be a hot box or whether that just be standard equipment. But with that speed, actually, it gives the contractors an opportunity to rethink about how they might plan a route. So they might, plan a 10-kilometer run and each day just move along it and be a very, plan it in a much more productive, efficient way. We didn't touch on it too much, but the other thing that we focus on, when you start doing bigger areas, you start collecting more materials to come off. Now, in many cases today, that's been wasted. It's going back to landfill. What we've worked out, and with Tarmac are very leading on this, we work closely with Tarmac, is to be able to recover those chippings, keep them clean so they're not contaminated. So that allows them to be recycled there and put back into the material. So you start to repair your roads with some of the materials that have come across in a long way. So once you've got this machine in place, all those efficiency gains about how we do it, how we plan it, how we smart it, they all become real opportunities for us to move to the next level on. So we talked about the 60 down to 30, but the cost savings might actually be more than that. It might be more because there's some other associated costs there that we just don't yet know about yet.
That's an interesting one, Mike, isn't it? I mean, you, as the world highways expert here, that recycling of materials is a real driver these days, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, if you look at other countries, actually the US leads in road recycling with regards to reuse of asphalt. We're a bit behind in the UK, but asphalt is 100% recyclable material. There is an issue with the quality of the material, because you have to, if you're recovering your asphalt from milled cuttings, you have to be sure what you're getting. You can't use it in a wearing course. You can use it as your base material though, because you may not be certain of that it's good enough to use in a top quality wearing course. But yeah, it's 100% recyclable, and we certainly need to recycle more in the UK. Just another point actually about determining where the potholes are. I think there are a number of apps available for smartphones. I think Trimble, Topcon, Bentley have all come up with fairly simple apps you can put on your smartphone. You take a picture with your smartphone, it's geolocated with GPS, and then I think these are pitched at road professionals, that these are simple tools you can use with an iPad or a tablet as well, that you can, your surveyor can go out, take a picture of each pothole, where it is, geolocate it, and then provide that data to your repair crew. It actually makes the job of locating where the problems with the road is. It makes it really quick and easy, because it's all done on a smartphone or on a tablet device. Very easy, very quick to do, very simple.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of questions in here from our friend Dan. Can you buy one with the pothole setup but no attachments, just to use the skid steer attachments? Which I didn't fully understand, but then Dan goes on to say he's over in the States. Don't see the pothole spec being used for potholes, only more as a multi-purpose tool carrier. JCB people, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, that is we see the Hydrodig platform developing as the tool carrier, and having the skid steer hitch on the lower structure and the hydronic control and the drive control opens up lots of opportunity. Now, North America use more skid steer attachments than anywhere else in the world. Floor saws, planers. This machine gives the same power output, hydronic power output, as a very large skid steer, but you're sitting up in a nice cab, and then you've got the benefit of a 360-degree upper structure and dig end, which you can also put another skid steer attachment on. So yeah, Dan, absolutely, your vision of this machine as a tool carrier which can be redeployed into different applications, absolutely, that's the journey that we'll go on. Focus right now is Pothole Pro, and we get working to get that out and working, but I'm sure later in this year, maybe the second half of the year, then we'll be looking at the tool carrier opportunities at that. So if you've got any requests, if you've got any suggestions, if you've got any pulls from that, then we're always delighted to hear from our customers.
One of the questions, and I think it's an understandable one, I must admit that when I saw JCB was having another go at potholes, I straight away thought of the 3CX Pothole Master. Does that still exist? Is that still a live product, or is this been replaced?
Absolutely, it's still a live product with us today, and still very, very popular. And where it's very popular and generally works with the larger resurfacing gangs, who like the big shovel at the front, and it works with the large, pavers, etc. And it does a fantastic job in that. And it does work in potholes, but it doesn't work commonly in potholes. And the bit that it doesn't do in potholes, it doesn't do the cutting out, the cropping. So a man still needs to get down, or a man or woman person needs to get down into the roadway and cut those edges out and stuff. And also, what we've done with the Pothole Pro platform is we've just enhanced it. We've really made what's going to fix the national problem is this 8 minutes, getting the pothole preparation down to 8 minutes, getting that time down, which then kicks into the cost, drops all the other costs down. So time and cost is it, and we're able to do that with the Pothole Pro, because we've got more energy in there, got 81 kilowatt engine, bigger hydronic pumps, bigger thing, it's just bigger and faster and better at doing that job, which gives the increased output, which brings the cost down, which should enable councils and contractors to invest and close out more of those potholes that hurt us. So, but yes, very much the 3CX compact, the 3CX, with its big shovel at the front and back actor, absolutely big part of the road resurfacing and larger patch gangs, all of them.
I guess from my point of view as well, Paul, what I'm interested in understanding is, are we getting to a point where we can have bigger collaboration between the wider industry? Because we're talking about things here like manhole covers, we're talking about drains and things like that. They're a common thing. I literally have to walk 2 minutes out of my door to see that Ironworks has yet again, the repair hasn't worked. And those are common issues that we have within the industry and within this sort of ironworks space. So as people designing those, there's yourself designing something that's going to repair elements around it. Is there something where we can work better together in that, and maybe even tweak designs or whatever that we can repair better using sort of mechanized systems like your Pothole Pro?
Absolutely, Peter, and these forums, these better communication, help those sparks of innovation to come together. It is those different good ideas of how to do things in a better way that somewhere come together into an innovation. That I think certainly we're working very closely with the major contractors that are covering a lot of the roads in the UK, who have their own innovation heads, who are talking to the same people who are doing those different things. So those connections are there, and we continue to ask the questions. We always go to the customer first and say, this is what we think, what do you think, or can you let us know better what the issue is, and how do we solve it, and not just exactly around our machine, but the wider process. What else is happening? What are the challenges? What are the new chemicals? What are the new and so we can enhance our product with those innovations. So and there's plenty of opportunity to do that, and more opportunity to do it, and having these conversations helps to stimulate those conversations as well. There may be people on here today who've got good ideas that we can incorporate, or can see a way to use that Hydrodig Pothole Pro platform in another way, and that's all there for use.
Great stuff.
We've had a question in there, or it's not even a question, it's a statement actually, from our friend Stephen Carruthers, who, unless JCB has been very canny and set this up, he's actually been watching one of these machines in use today on a new tramline site in Edinburgh. An amazing bit of kit, super smooth. That's Gordon Bow Plant from Broxburn. I don't know quite what time Gordon Bow Plant opens in the morning, but I think a phone call there might be timely.
We should get one of our colleagues, David Wiley, who lives down the road in Glasgow, to rush up there, Mark. So
I think you're right. And completely off topic now, our friend Martin here. Could Paul show us the 3CX model on the plinth, please? I collect a lot of JCB models. He must be eagle-eyed. I mean, admittedly, I'm not looking at this full screen.
I'll give you a little run through of the models on my desk, shall I? So we've got the, the classic 3C. We've got the Martini one from the F1. What have we got now? We've got a Hemi here. The Hemi.
Nice, yeah.
Like it.
It's part of the job. You've got to have the toys, So hold on a second. We've got a more up-to-date laptop, and then we've got our anniversary sort of.
That's quite a collection. I hate to interrupt the guided tour, but Mike's going to go and cook dinner. So, Mike, you feel free to give us a wave, and then you head off and go. I really appreciate your input tonight, Mike. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always.
See you chaps later. Thank you.
Cheers now.
See you.
Well, Martin, I hope that was okay for you. A quick run through of some of the modules.
I promise we do make videos as well.
You just never know what our viewers are going to ask. It's all been clean so far, so we've done okay. One of the things that did come up in the discussions earlier was the fact that Friday is National Pothole Day. Yeah. How does one celebrate National Pothole Day? Do you go and make a pothole, fill in a pothole, report a pothole? What is the deal there?
Go on, Ben. What's the deal?
Well, I think National Pothole Day, we all know how emotive potholes are, don't we? I mean, like I say, we've touched on it before, but it affects every single one of us, whether it be motorists or councils or us as a manufacturer. So I think National Pothole Day, first of all, is raising awareness of, we all know there's potholes out there, But as we mentioned previously, can we collaborate together? Is there a space for innovation here? And trying to push better practices, and whether it be from machines processing or the support vehicles or the technology behind it or the working methods. I think there is a piece there to be done to push potholes back into the national stream of consciousness rather than simply negativity. Is there a positive thing we can work on together? And I think National Pothole Day, it may be one of those that people may not have heard of, the general public, but I think there is a place for it. And we as JCB will obviously push the Pothole Pro as a great example of an innovation within National Pothole Day, and this is why one of the reasons why we've launched today as part of that week on National Pothole Day.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it works perfectly well for Peter and I, because we get to resurrect our video on Friday. We shot it today, aired it live, and then we'll air it again on Friday as well.
And I'd add again to what Ben said. I mean, you know, if I'm from our work with those highways teams, all of them great people. You know, if we give those guys the right tools, the tool that can do the job, I have no doubt that they'll fix our national pothole problem. And I think, you know, around National Pothole Day, there's an opportunity for all of us, you know, in the industry and the councils, etc., just to recognise, look, if we just give these guys the right tools, they can sort it for us, and the benefit to our economy and recreation and damage on cars and cycling and everything else will be immense. It's a problem we shouldn't have to talk about. You know, we can change that.
And I think, Mark, what's really interesting about all of this is I'm going to give Paul and Ben a little bit of a challenge here, because National Pothole Day is a national day every year. So this time next year, I want to know how many hours the fleet of the Pothole Pros have put in to getting this National Pothole Day off the ground this year, and then actually saying how many hours, and therefore equating that to how many potholes they've helped to fix next year. Because with JCB LiveLink, I know that's possible.
It is not just with LiveLink. I mean, I know for a fact, having been to the factory on a number of occasions, and I wrote a book that was inspired by the original Hydro Dig. JCB can even tell you how much water is in the lake outside the window that Paul sat in front of. I can't remember how much it is, but they've actually got that. So it's there. Don't count it now, Paul. You'll be there for quite some time. But yeah, I mean, that's the sort of information these guys have, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, things like LiveLink are a fantastic tool and let us, you know, really be close with our customers. Gives us a huge amount of data, able to help them respond to them, etc. You know, Pothole Pro, we talk about the numbers of how many potholes it can close out working 8 hours a day. You know, it's got full LED lights all over it, so it could be doing a double shift as we do in our factory here. So, you know, it could be closing out potholes pretty quickly. And I think one of the biggest constraints is council budgets, of course. And it's key, the part of the program is being able to, you know, halve that budget per pothole, which allows twice as many to be fixed. So let's see where we go. I mean, it's a great challenge to have, and I hope that everybody who's online can support us with that.
Brilliant.
No, totally. We always get one, don't we? Ken Hatcher, who is a regular viewer here, he's actually got a pothole outside his house. I don't know whether he's expecting a special dispensation because he's been watching the stream, but hey, I'll leave you guys to follow that up. Look, gentlemen, I know you've all got homes to go to and lives to lead, which is my polite way of saying I'm bloody starving right now. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to Mike, to Paul, to Ben, and obviously to Peter as well. And really just like to wish you guys the very best of luck. Not that you'll need it, but the very best of luck with the new machine.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks very much for having us. It's been a real pleasure, a great conversation. Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Popping down the road and seeing you guys when it's when we're able to do that, and let's talk around these key features again, but also, you know, it'll be great to be able to come and talk to Stoke-on-Trent City Council as well, because I really did think that video and the response from the actual end users is what we really need to understand how that works, and get the operators talking to me, and let's get that messaging out as well. So thanks so much. Yeah. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I'll let you go. Right, Peter. I guess we've got one final thing. You and I have got another show on Friday, if we haven't already bored everyone to complete death. It's going to be our first official, not pilot, but official Construction Collective show. Do you want to give people a hint of what we're going to be talking about, or should we just leave them guessing?
Well, no, I think we need to let them know. Look, we're gonna be doing this show on a regular basis, Mark, 2 to 3 times a month, and we're actually going to be bringing in lots of different guests. This time, we're going to be really looking at the 2021, the year ahead. We've got some special guests that can talk about Brexit. We've got special guests that are talking about technology. We've got special guests that are talking about how it impacts things like selling used equipment. We've also got our coming back yet again, our Who's Investing slot. We've also got a special new entrant to the Construction Collective, which we're calling our group, who's going to be the operator's technology expert. So instead of people asking me, who is not an operator, how things work, we've got a special regular guest slot, our guest expert coming on as well. Of course, we've got your friend and mine reporting live, well, not live, reporting in the live show on site, which is what is really important, Nick Drew. And then, Mark, you've got some secret squirrel stuff, which I don't know whether you want to talk about now, but it's going to be a show.
No, funnily enough, the name JCB will come up again on Friday's show, but for something completely unrelated to tonight. So, yeah, they will certainly be there. And we've also got the world debut of a guy that I'm going to refer to as the voiceover man. Watch this space. But Friday night, 6:30, it'll be Peter, it'll be me, it'll be a lot of guests, it'll be a lot of fun as always. So make sure you're tuned in. Peter, I know I was going to say you've got a home to go to. You haven't, because you're there. But thanks ever so much for your help tonight, Peter, and certainly thanks for keeping the balls in the air while my stream went down. Hey, I'm only the host. What the hell?
Hey, exactly. That's not a problem. That's what I'm here for. But thanks again, Mark. We'll see you on Friday. Thanks very much.
Look forward to it. Now, all that leaves is for me to do one final disclaimer, I guess, is the fact that I kind of need to come clean on the fact that I am a bit of a fan of the HydroDig machine. So much so that when JCB launched it, I actually wrote a book that was inspired by it. That book is still available. It's on Amazon. It's called Renaissance, Why JCB is the Apple of the Digger World. And not only have we got the book available.
You might think that a JCB digger and an iPad have very little in common. You'd be wrong. Check out Why JCB is the Apple of the Digger World by Mark Anthony, exclusive to Amazon.
So if you're feeling all inspired about JCB HydroDigs, obviously it was written a couple of years ago, so it won't include the Pothole Pro, but it will certainly include things like the Teleskid, the HydroDig, and the high-vis dumper that JCB have introduced recently. If that sounds like the sort of thing you'd be into, then please go over to Amazon and have a look for that. Renaissance, Why JCB is the Apple of the Digger World. That just about wraps up this show, 1 minute 24 minutes, or 1 hour 24 minutes after we started. So I think that's plenty long enough for anyone to put up with my face. We'll be back here again on Friday at 6:30. But in the meantime, thanks ever so much for watching. Thanks for taking part. Thanks for all your questions, guys. And thanks to all the guys at JCB, to Mike Wolf, to Peter Haddock, and anybody else that I've forgotten to mention. Till next time, I'll see you all very, very soon.